So we have Sarah Madsen with us today. She's the owner of A Bit of Tack. She opened up the store in 2002 selling candles and home decor, and she built the business up slowly with a little bit more inventory every year. They now stock over 4,000 pairs of boots and tons of different clothing lines, and stock tons of new saddles, used saddles, and a full line of tech products every year. They are a family-owned and operated business and started the business in 1984 doing horse sales. They added a big indoor arena in 2004, and they now host several shows and events at the facility. Some people might recognize it because it's in Verndale and the Cherry Serve Youth Championships are there, so that makes a little bit of connection too. We're super excited to have Sarah with us today to learn and hear what she has to say.
Hi everyone. I don't know if you can see me very good. Trying to get it ready. Okay. I'm Sarah with A Bit of Tack, like she had said, here in Verndale, Minnesota. And I'm going to go over some stuff with saddle fitting with you. Saddle fitting there's a lot to it. There's gullet angles, there's gullet bars, there's tons and tons of different things to learn. I'm just going to hit on a few key points. I started doing saddle fitting probably about 5 years ago when I went down to Martin Saddlery's factory, and I spent about 3 days down there, and all we did from morning till night was fit horses. They brought in trail loads of horses and we just practiced fitting them. We put a bunch of different saddles on. We had to feel all the differences, and that's kind of where it started was there. I also went to Cactus, and I've been to Rainsman and Double J's factories as well, doing saddle fittings with them. So there's a lot of differences in the way people like to fit saddles and what they look for. I do find that saddle fitting is a little bit like the medical industry, where things are always changing. So some people way back when used to be like, okay, you got to fit the gullet width, and that's all they're worried about. That has changed drastically in the last probably 10 years with all of the different research and chiropractics and vets that have been putting more time into saddle fitting. Unfortunately, the horses can't tell us whether they fit or they don't, and where they fit and where they don't. So we just have to do our best to feel and try to understand with the way they're acting with the saddles on and different things like that, what fits and what doesn't. I brought a bare tree to kind of show you. I don't know how many of you guys have seen just a bare tree that has not been made into a saddle yet. So this is a bare tree. This just happens to be one of Double J's trees that I have. Double J has several different trees. All of their trees, well, most of them have a 7-inch gullet, which I'm sure a lot of you understand the gullet, the width, which is measured in here. That's where a lot of people look at when they're fitting saddles. One thing that you also have to remember that a lot of people forget is a tree has bars that run down both sides of the saddle. And these bars come in different angles. So like for instance, this tree here is a 43-degree bar angle. So meaning in or out this way. They come in, Double J does like a 35-degree, which is going to be flatter. It's going to fit a little wider. They do a 44-degree. They do a 42-degree. And they also have a tree called a number 10. And the number 10 tree is going to have a lot of like twist and rock in the bar. It's going to fit horses that have higher withers, that have atrophy behind the shoulders where they're kind of hollow behind there. That's the kind of saddle that number 10 tree is supposed to fit. So when we're looking at fitting a horse, some people, another thing they like to do is they'll bring in like cutouts or like a wire cutout. And that's great. And that does definitely help, but it does only measure one area of the horse. So it's only measuring the tree in the gullet area. So if you're going to do it, you have to measure all the way back, because if you look at a horse, a lot of times they're built like pears, where they're real wide in the loins, the rib cage, and then as they come forward, they're going to get a little bit more narrow. So what fits the horse here in the front may not fit the horse back here. So you have to make sure that you're looking at the entire tree of a saddle that's, that runs through. When you fit the saddle on the horse, which is probably the best way to ever do a saddle fitting, is to try the saddles on. I know that Double J has like a fitting tool that they can use, that they check angles and different measurements throughout the whole horse, that they can kind of give you an idea on the tree width. But those measurements are not going to help in any other brand, because the other brands have different bar angles and different trees in their saddles. So because a 7-inch gullet in one brand fits your horse does not necessarily mean a 7-inch gullet in another brand will fit your horse, again, due to the angles. So when you're fitting them and you put the saddle on the horse, I always like to start out, maybe I can show you on here, from the back by the skirt of the saddle. Your tree runs about 2 inches below the seat from front to back. So I like to stick my hands up underneath the saddle and slide my hands all the way across the saddle, all the way across the bars, all the way to the front. And when you do that, there's several things. One, you should have even pressure all the way through. Sometimes when you stick your hands under there, you can feel your tree, here, and then you get into this area, like right in between where your legs would go for the fenders, and you'll have like a big hollow spot, or referring to as bridging in the saddle, meaning that that part of the saddle, which is right in here, is not touching the horse's back. So when that happens, all of your pressure is going to be up here, and it's going to be back here, and it's going to make your horse extremely sore because your pressure is not distributed through the entire saddle. So you want the tree to lay on your horse's back all the way across, not just here and in here. You really want it to touch here. The other thing that you want to really watch for is underneath the pommel under here. You want to make sure when you stick your hands up underneath there, like this way, that it's not tight under there, because that is a spot where a lot of trees will start out really wide like this, and as they come back, so they start wide through here, they get narrow. And when they get narrow in here, that's underneath your swells or your pommel of your saddle, and that's what's going to make that pressure point that will make your horse really sore. It's a very, very common place for a saddle to not fit a horse, underneath the swells in that area. So that's always a place that I really like to check. Another place that is commonly missed is underneath this back concho back here. That part is the back part of these bars here. And sometimes when you stick your hands under there, if it's kind of tight in there, these bars are driving into the back of your horse. So it's pushing pressure down in there. So you want to make sure that your bar spread is wide enough that it's sitting all the way around your horse and that they're not cutting into your horse that way. So those are a couple of super important points to look at when you are looking at fitting a saddle or when you're trying it on. Doesn't matter what store you go to or where you're trying it, a friend's or whoever, always put it on. Always fit your saddles bareback first, because you're going to get your best feel and the best lay of a saddle. You can make some changes to a saddle. You can build a saddle up if it's a little wide with using different pads. You can go to a little bit thinner pads if you need to. So you can do that, but I still like to always do my saddle fittings just bareback so we get the true fit of the saddle. Sometimes, so another area that you want to watch is you want to make sure that the saddle is laying flat, obviously. And probably a lot of you know you don't want rock in your saddle when you go back and forth. When you push on the front, you want the saddle to stay flat. And when you push on the back, you want it to stay flat. If it's rocking back and forth, it's not fitting. Sometimes saddles will sit like this and they'll be dropped down. When that happens, there can be one of two things. One, sometimes it can be too big in the front where the gullet is too wide, horses are too atrophied, whatever it may be, and it's dropping down. The other thing that's commonly missed is sometimes they're actually too narrow on the horses. And what they're doing is the saddle is sitting up on top of your horse's back, and it's teeter-tottering because it doesn't have a place. It's not wide enough to sit down all the way around your horse. So watching whether it's actually too big in here and whether it's too narrow all the way through that the saddle is rocking is something that you definitely would want to look at and watch. It's commonly mistaken. I'll have people call me and say, hey, a saddle's way too big, it's dropping down in the front. Sometimes we'll go to a bigger gullet or a flatter bar, and the horse will sit down really nice and lay really nice. Somebody asked me a question. Will sit down and lay really nice, so then it may be too big. So you really want to watch that. So no rocking, laying even, and then even pressure from front to back all the way through. If you stick your hands underneath your pommel, like up under here, and it feels like it's real tight when you stick your hands in there, it's probably pinching your horse and it's going to make them sore. Atrophy that's behind the horse's shoulders usually does come from ill-fitting saddles. When there's pressure points pretty much anywhere in the saddle around the horse's back, they like to arch their back and lift their head to try to get away from the pressure of that saddle. When that happens, when they do that, their muscle behind their shoulder starts to deteriorate, and that's where you get them big hollow spots behind the horse's shoulders, is from that. You will notice that racehorses have a lot of big hollow spots behind the shoulders in a lot of them that you look at, and a lot of them have higher withers. And some people say, well, they're race bred or something like that, so they're supposed to have that. Well, they were not born with atrophy behind the shoulders. They were born nice and round. And the jock saddles that they use to ride in when they're racing are real small, and the bar angles are really up and down. So they really catch into that horse's back. So if you ever watch the race horses, some they're kind of more antsy and a little hotter anyway, but most of them ride with their heads way up high in the air. And a lot of that is to get away from the pressure of that saddle, which in return causes a lot of atrophy behind the shoulders. Some of that atrophy, if you have a horse that has it, you can get some of that muscle back by putting a saddle on that maybe is a little bit big or that is a little bit wider, and it will give that horse room behind the shoulders to fill that saddle out. So that is one way to get some of that muscle back. And then between massage therapy and getting blood flow back to those areas, sometimes the horses will fill out pretty quickly that route too, or both of them together if you're trying to fill some of that muscle back out. There's also a lot of controversy with saddles. I feel it's kind of a personal preference. There is research that has been done that supports different things. Some saddle fitters, some saddle makers believe that saddles should be ridden behind the horse's shoulders and not on top of the horse's shoulders. And other saddle makers and saddle fitters want saddles up on top of the shoulders. So I have had really good luck and really good results riding my saddles back a little bit more behind the shoulders versus on top of them. Sometimes for me, I look at it as if I have a horse sitting, or if I have somebody sitting on my shoulders, I can't lift my shoulders. I can't get my, wouldn't be able to get my butt underneath me if somebody was sitting on my shoulders. And a lot of times when you're riding, you'll notice as the horse is moving and striding, your saddle may slide back behind the shoulders anyway, because I do really feel that horses are more comfortable when the saddle's behind the shoulders. So like I said, there's a lot of opinions out there about that. There's research done both ways, and I feel like that's you have to decide on your own how you would want to ride your saddle and what you think. But I do feel riding them behind the shoulders a little bit does work better for the horses. Let's see what else. The gullet size, yeah. Gullet sizes. Most of the time, a standard full quarter horse bar is going to be a 7-inch gullet. Sometimes 6 3/4 is considered full. That's what it was way back when a full quarter bar was considered 6 3/4. Now it's considered a 7. But what a lot of companies are doing and saddle makers are doing is, instead of changing the gullet width, they're just changing bar angles. So 6 1/2 would be considered a standard quarter bar. 6 1/4 is a semi. There are a couple of companies, I don't know many, but I know Martin is one of them that does make much wider gullets. And I always tell people you can build a saddle up a little bit with a thicker pad, but you can never make it wider. So if you're going to err a little bit on your saddle fitting, I always say go a little bit wide, use a little bit thicker pad versus going too small, and then there's nothing you can do when it's already too small. This is the bear tree. Does anybody have questions this far that I can answer? Like, get started. That's kind of the basics, but
People were asking them in chat.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm so far away from the phone. I can't see the questions. She's finding them for me. I'm not very good at running this thing.
Can you go a little bit slower so I can take notes?
Sure. Okay, where was that? Is it in that chat thing?
We can
Okay.
we can have somebody read them off to you if you want, if that would be easier.
Okay, I
Okay.
can read them off.
So let's see. Can I keep going a little bit? She found them. I'm just going to look at them here quick, and I will try to answer some of them.
Sounds
And slow
good.
down. Keep going. Nope, those are from when they were asking questions before. Keep going. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, do I have my speaker view mode on? I do? Okay.
That was
Okay.
for everybody else, just to make it full view so that they'd see you more.
Okay. So one of the questions I have is, can pads compensate for an ill-fitting saddle? Yes, absolutely. They can compensate for an ill-fitting saddle. There are hundreds and hundreds of different styles of pads that there's hundreds of different styles of pads that you can use. There's some that have like buildups in the front. There's some that have, for horses that might have like, we call sway back, where they're real hollow, you know, through the whole center, maybe an older horse or, you know, something like that. They have pads for that can help. So that part that I was telling you about in through here, that pad would have a thick area right through here so that the saddle has something to rest on. Because those horses that are real hollow or real sway back in there, these bars wouldn't rest on there. So there's pads like that. Another thing with pads, I will tell you, I always look at pads as shoes and socks. So if you have a pair of shoes that fit you very well, you don't want to put on a real thick pair of socks. You just want a standard pair of socks, not super thin, not super thick, just your regular socks. If you have boots that are too big, which would be the same in saddles, you have a saddle that might be too big, you want to go with a thicker pad or a thicker pair of socks. Same goes for a saddle that might be a little bit small. You would want to drop down your pad width to a little bit thinner. Same with what you would do if your boots were too tight, you'd want to go thinner socks. So I always try to refer it to that to try to help, because I know that pads are always a tough thing. Everybody asks me when they come in and they buy a saddle, they say, which kind of pad should I go with, or what should I use? As far as like a brand on pad, I don't have any like specific preference on a brand. I will tell you that saddle pads that are just like plain felt or that don't have a lot of like buildup or craziness to them work great for saddles that fit very well. Saddles, like I said, that are too big, then you can go with a little bit thicker ones, sway back ones. I was reading one of the questions and I lost my train of thoughts. You can go thicker, thinner, or like I said, they do have those pads that have the buildup, like the bridge pads, or sometimes this horses are real atrophied in the front, like we talked about. They do make pads with like a thicker buildup in different angles that you could use for that. So yes, pads can definitely compensate for an ill-fitting saddle if the combination can work together. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my question so I can figure out another one that you guys asked. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, got that. Also do this. Okay, and yep, I went over already the saddles you would want to fit bareback before you put a pad on. So we went over there. Let's see, how do you adjust this? Okay, that's a really good question. Somebody had asked how you fit a saddle in the winter versus in the summer when your horses have changed. They're probably more sucked up in the summertime. They're more in shape. That's really hard to do. I do recommend that if you say, I'm gonna look for a new saddle, I'm gonna buy a new saddle, I would wait until your horse is in a little bit better shape in the spring to do it if you're not riding in the winter anyway. I change a lot of when we don't ride as much in the winter, my horses get fatter. I don't have to necessarily change my saddle, but I do change my pad. So that's where I would go with a little bit thinner pad because the horses are fatter and wider, you know, but I have done some saddle fittings for people in the winter, and I've said, okay, this saddle fits, and they order one, and the saddles come in the spring, and the horses are all sucked up and they lost a bunch of weight. They, a lot of times, sometimes they don't fit. So you kind of want to try to fit your horse when they're in a little bit better shape. So let's see. Wait, how can you make your saddle? Oh, I gotta find my things. I can't read all of them. Okay. Okay, hold on. Fuller. The leather in the saddles that we use, most of the saddles are made with Hermann Oak leather. For your higher end, your more expensive saddles. Some companies use a different type of leather. I don't know the names of all the different leathers, but in your higher end saddles, they'll use Hermann Oak leather on those. How do you put the saddle on? I can show you on how to put the saddle on in just shortly. It says, what is your expensive saddle? Saddle prices range from, they're kind of all over the boardwalk right now. I will tell you, like the Martins, the Double J's, Cactus, probably like your Burns, your G-Bar-G, some of those saddles, most of them are going to start in that 2,500 range, and they're going to go up from there. All your different tooling patterns, all your different conchos, all your different leather colors are all different prices. So some of those higher end saddles are more custom. There are some really great lower end price saddles and some really great middle of the road priced saddles. I know Scott Thomas and Dakota and Rainsman, and there's a lot of them that are that middle of the price point that you could get new from anywhere, probably from like 800 on up in a new price point. So I don't know if that helps with a little bit with prices, but they're kind of all over. Sometimes if you are looking, I tell people too, if you're looking for a saddle and you're on more of a budget, sometimes I tell them to maybe look for a used saddle that's a little bit higher end, because most of the time their bars are a little bit better, their trees are made just a little bit better, and their bar angles fit more horses. They do use a little bit better leather. So sometimes, depending on what your budget or your price point is, I'll tell people to maybe try a used one in a higher end. Oh, Kaya, fix it. What did I do? Okay, let's see. Oh, let's see. Okay, should I have a thicker pad if I ride in the winter, or should I get one thin one and one thick one? Yeah, I would do a thicker one for like your, depending on how your saddle fits. I would do a little bit thicker one in the summer if your saddle is too big. You know, if your saddle fits really good in the summertime, most people can get by with about a 3/4 inch pad. If it fits good, 3/4 inch. If it's a little bit tight, you could drop down to 1/2 inch, or too big, you can go 7/8 or an inch. But like I said, the bigger your saddle is, the thicker your pad would be. Okay, more questions here. Yeah, let's see. Okay. And I have a question. It says, how can you make your saddle so that it doesn't get loose when the horse breathes out? You really should always cinch a horse very slowly. You should tighten your saddle a little bit, and then you should go walk your horse a little bit. And then you should tighten the saddle again. I have had some horses that we ride that are considered cinchy, and horses get that way when you try to tighten the saddle as tight as you can all at one time. And then a lot of times they'll back up, or they'll pull or whatever because it hurts. So I would tighten it a little bit, walk them, tighten it a little bit more, walk them. And that's whether your saddle fits really good or it doesn't. You should always tighten a saddle slowly. Let's see. Okay, so I have a question about ostrich leather. Ostrich leather is super durable. It's very good. It's a very good leather, but it is a very expensive leather. That's an exotic. So that one has to, be brought in. There's not as much of it as your basic leathers. So the price is quite a bit more. I know if you're going to do like a real ostrich in a seat, usually it's about a $500 or $600 upgrade to do the ostrich. And ostrich skin it's durable, but it's not as durable as like bison or something suede or something like that. It is still kind of a softer leather. Let's see. Yeah, okay. And then okay, how do you fit a saddle on a heavy, thick, withered horse? It's the same. You fit it exactly the same way you would fit any other horse. You just have to make sure that your bar angles are very flat and you can get a little bit wider. So, you would fit it the same way. You'd put it on bareback. You just have to look for a tree that has bar angles that would be flatter to help with those mutton withered, wide, flat backed horses. Do you have a favorite brand of saddle that you prefer? I have a brand that I like to ride in myself that for me is a good fit for my riding style, and it's comfortable and they're durable. And I would say that would be my Martens. I ride the Marten Stingray. My daughter rides the Marten BTR. It's kind of a little bit on your preference on the ride of the saddle. As far as the quality, they do have lifetime warranties on them and they're amazing. I do like the Double J saddles as well. They have very high quality leather. They're custom made. I just struggled a little bit more with the riding style on their saddles. It got me a little bit more forward than the Marten did. Rainsman is great. Sukawai is great. There's tons of great brands that are all quality. I would just say what fits you as your riding style the best and what you can find to fit your horse. With Martens, I've had really good luck because there are so many gullet widths and so many different bar angles that I have a lot to choose from them and still ride in that fit or that style that I like. So that's just a preference. Let's see. Okay, let's. Advice on finding a good used saddle. I would just say that to try all of the saddles on your horse. So go someplace where they can fit it for you, so that you know that it does fit. And after all of the information that I've gone over with you, make sure that you check those things yourself as well to make sure that you think it fits. So you're not just buying something on somebody's, just on their opinion as well. Just make sure it fits. There's lots of good saddles out there, different brands. Somebody asked how much pony saddles are. Those vary from $125 on up. I have them in a lot of different price points for that. Are there different saddles for different breeds? Yes. There are some different saddles for different breeds. There are companies that make saddles with Arab trees in them. So they're made a little bit different than like your standard barrel saddles. They also make walking horse saddles. They do standardbred saddles. They do draft saddles. So there are a few different saddles that you can get for different breeds of horses. Not to say that just a regular saddle wouldn't fit an Arab or wouldn't fit a walking horse. It may. Once again, you have to try it on, but they do make special trees for that built of horse. Does a treeless saddle change the way you would fit it? A little bit. Treeless saddles, to me, I don't ride in one and I don't do a lot of fitting with them. I don't know really how you would fit a treeless other than make sure that the front is not super tight because there's no tree to feel. So there's not really anything in there. It would be kind of like fitting a bareback pad. So there's not a lot to fit with those. But I do know that they make wides and they make standards. So I would kind of watch, again, your gullet area. Treeless saddles they're good saddles if you are that type of person that likes to be very close contact to your horse. You like that your horse can feel all your movements and stuff in you, from you. That's a great saddle. They do have very deep seats. The only thing you would want to watch is your pressure points in those, because your stirrup leathers run through the saddle to the other side, and sometimes those stirrup leathers or those straps will lay on pressure points from the saddle. So just make sure that your horse doesn't get sore from them. And then with those treeless ones, they use much thicker pads to help with that too. Let's see. Do I need a saddle pad and saddle blanket? No, you don't need both. Some people like to do the saddle blanket under their pads to keep them clean, or do a pad liner, but you don't have to do that. And some people like the colorful blankets over the top of their pads. And that's just basically for looks. I mean, it's not necessary to have that as long as you have a decent thickness in pads. Let's see. So, okay, opinion on Circle Y flex tree. What is flexing? Okay, so a flex tree is just that the tree is made out of almost like a composite material, and it has just a little bit of give in the tree. So if you ever push front to back, like grab the horn in the back of the saddle and you do it on a flex tree, there's going to be just a little bit of give. I don't say that I think they're good saddles. I think they're great trees. But I wouldn't say that, okay, I have a horse that's super hard fitting, so I'm going to buy it a flex tree. It's still similar in a tree saddle in the sense that it either fits or it doesn't. It just has a little bit more give to it and in flex in your bars. So that's kind of how those work. Oops. Okay, chats. Okay, oh yeah, does the type of cinch you use affect your saddle fit of your horse? No, not necessarily. The only thing that sometimes a cinch can do is if you use a wider cinch, sometimes it covers more base. So if you have a saddle that is a little bit more rolly or that rocks side to side, having a wider based cinch will hold that saddle in place a little bit more versus a straight cinch. Sometimes your neoprene cinches will hold better too if you have that rolly saddle, but it doesn't necessarily affect the way your saddle fits. So my barrel saddle goes up in the back. Is that okay? Because I somewhat feel like I cannot connect with her in the back for her to stop. Okay. Okay, so somebody had a question that they said that their saddle is popping up and back. So I'm assuming it's sitting like this in the back. And they're asking if that's okay and that they're having trouble getting the horse to stop. No, that's not okay. You don't want the saddle to sit like that, and you don't want it to pop up. You want your saddle to be flat and you want it to be level so that it can ride flat on your horse. If it is tipped down, like we kind of talked about before, it's either too big in the front and it's dropping down, or it's too small all the way through and it's sitting on top of your horse like this and it's teeter-tottering. It's not sitting down around your horse. So you would want to find something that's maybe a little bit wider, or you can adjust that with pads as well. One thing I will tell you about pads that I did forget to mention is if you have a saddle that really doesn't fit your horse, like it really is narrow, but it's the only thing that you have to work with, that's the only saddle you got and you need to make it work with. In that situation, I would go with a really thick pad. And what that's going to do is it's going to lift the saddle like this up off your horse's back a little bit. So it's kind of like not putting your foot in a boot. So it doesn't hurt your foot, but it might be a little bit more rolly and your saddle might roll just a little bit more. And in that sense, you could use a little wider cinch. You could use a neoprene cinch to hold your cinch in place, but it's not going to hurt your horse because it's sitting up off of its back. It's not ideal, but it is ideal if that's the only saddle you have and you don't have anything else to work with. Then I would go with a thicker pad and just perch your saddle up on top. That's not going to hurt your horse, and it's not going to hurt you. Like I said, it just might feel a little bit more rolly, and you're not as close contact to your horse, but it won't hurt it. Let's see. Questions. Let's see. Okay, did that one. I did that one. Okay, somebody asked, they said they have a wide horse and a wide built horse, and the saddle slips side to side. When I get on, does that mean it doesn't fit? Possibly. More likely it is a little bit perched up on top of your horse. It's not sitting down all the way on your horse, which is why it's rolling from side to side. So you may need to find something that's a little flatter in the bar angle and a little bit wider so that it can sit down on your horse better. And that should eliminate some of that rolling issues that you're having. If you have a young horse that their body is changing with training, what can you do to have it fit as best as possible? Again, I would say that comes back to pads with your young horses, is have a few different thicknesses of pads, because young horses, it is hard because they are changing all the time, and it's hard to buy saddles for all the different ones. I would recommend buying something a little bit wider so that you can use a little bit thicker pad. And as the horse grows, you can drop down in pad thicknesses. So that's what I would do. What was that? Would you, how would you fit a horse that is wide and that does not have very prominent withers? Again, you would fit it the same way, but you just need to find something that's got a flatter bar angle in it. And you're going to want to try different saddles on, not just try to buy one without trying it on, because those horses are a little more difficult to fit. So you want to find the right saddle. A lot of people say that you can never tighten your girth too much. Is that true? I think I don't know that that's true. I think that I don't think you want to tighten your saddle so tight that you're breaking your horse in half, because I do think that after a while they are going to get cinchy from that. I think that I like to just tighten it a little bit, walk them out, tighten it a little bit more. And, if I get on my saddle and my saddle's not, moving or whatever, that's probably plenty tight. I say if you're super strong and you're tightening them super tight where you're breaking the horses in half almost, I think that after a while they will get kind of cinchy. And then when you do go to saddle and cinch your horse up, I think that you could start having some attitude problems with the horse. So I'd be a little bit careful with that. If you're a smaller person or a younger person and you go to tighten your saddle, no, you probably can't. You're probably not strong enough to tighten it too tight. But if your dad tightens it, or somebody that's older tightens it, that's pretty strong, yeah, they could over tighten it. I think a little bit your horse would maybe tell you too if they don't like it. Let's see. How do you put a saddle on? Okay, I'm going to go over that in just a little bit on that. Let's see. This is a good question. Does the saddle rigging on the front affect the fit of your saddle? Yes, that does affect the fit a little bit. When you go with some of the wider gulleted saddles that are like the Martin ones that are designed to sit more behind the horse's shoulders, they make a sliding adjustable rigging so that you can slide it back and forth. So that does make a little bit of difference when you're going with some of the wider gullets and you're sliding them back a little bit. Other than that, with the wide gullets, that doesn't probably make too big of a difference where your rigging is set. Other than, like I said, if you're riding it behind the shoulders. I know Lynn McKenzie, she does the double J saddles, and her rigging is way back, almost in the middle of the saddle. It's back a long ways. And that is cinched way back, and you would look at it thinking, oh, that horse isn't going to like it, but it actually pulls from the front of the back and the front of the saddle and the back of the saddle, and it works really well with them. So let's see. We have a couple more questions here. It says, what saddle blankets do you recommend that support the saddle and don't hurt my horse's back? I like 5 Star. I like Impact Gel. Diamond Wool has a really great pad. Equibrand or Classic Equine has a really nice, they have a couple of really nice pads. They've got a couple of them with its material. Classic Equine has one in it that has material that you would put in bulletproof vests for police officers inside their pad. So if you get like hard contact on it, it will get solid so that it doesn't, that really helps protect the back. So any of those are good pads. I feel like my saddle is too small for my horse in the spring of the year. What should I do for this situation? Because it fits in the summer after she starts working more. Yeah, I would just drop down and try to get a little bit thinner pad, or go with a little bit thicker pad and perch your saddle up off your horse's back for a little bit until it starts to get back into shape. And then you can drop down to a thinner pad and ride your saddle like you normally would. Let's see. Okay, this is a really good question. It says, if somebody offers to sell the tack with the horse, should you take it? I would suggest having them put the saddle on the horse's back and you feeling underneath there. You know, like we showed you, start from the back and slide your hands to the front. Does the saddle feel even all the way through? Do you have any tight spots in that saddle? Does the saddle rock back and forth when you have it set on your horse's back? When you set it on the horse's back, is it dumping down or rolling side to side? Those things that we went over with how to fit a saddle and what to do to fit a saddle and some of the things you're looking for. I would recommend that you look at those same things with their tack. And if you feel like when you put the saddle on that it does indeed lay really flat and your hands fit nice and even up there and the horse seems to be comfortable with it, you're not getting any dry spots. That's another indication whether your saddle fits or doesn't fit. Then I would go ahead and, if you want to purchase the tack with it, then I would do that at that time. But I would check it yourself just to make sure that it does fit and that they were riding with a saddle that fits. I think that's all the questions that I saw on the chat. I know that somebody asked me about how to put a saddle on. Do you mean like how to cinch the saddle or what position to set the saddle in? I'm not sure like what, if somebody could just tell me what they're kind of thinking as far as positioning or actually how to saddle the horse. Let me know what you're thinking there. And then I had one more question that just came through. What about English saddles? Are they measured differently than Western saddles for the seat and gullet? That's a super great question. Kyle, will you go grab it front? I have an English saddle. I just took it. English saddles are, the seat size is measured very differently than a Western saddle. I'm going to have her go grab me an English saddle and I can show you how to measure for your seat size. As far as the fit goes, it is very similar to a Western saddle. An English saddle still has bars that run through the tree of the saddle, and it does still come with different widths. So it is similar to fitting a Western saddle in the sense that you want to make sure you have room in the shoulders and that it's laying even throughout your horse's back. When she comes back with the English saddle, here she comes. I will show you. Okay, so here's an English saddle. I just had her bring this one in, and you want to measure from this button that's up on the front of your English saddle, and you measure it across the saddle to the very end of your cantle or of your seat of the saddle. So you just do it from Western saddles, you're going to do from under the horn straight back, but English saddles you do from the button and you go sideways to the center of the back of the seat of the English saddle. Let's see it. Oh, the price range for English saddles, and then how to cinch the saddle. Okay, if you just get me a cinch, I think you can just do it on this one. Let's see. Okay, wow. Okay, price range on English saddles. So they vary like Western saddles all across the board. This particular English saddle that I have here is $75. They go all the way up into what you would, you can buy like Steubens or those higher end English saddles. And then you're up in that $2,000-3,000 price point. So the English saddles can vary quite a lot in price. Somebody asked me how to cinch the saddle, and I think I'm just gonna have Kaya pull the phone up a little bit closer, and then you guys can watch for who has asked me. So this saddle has that adjustable rigging, and what you have on one side position should be the same on the other. Normally, for most saddles, you ride it all the way to the front, so that's how I'm going to fit this. Put your cinch on your billet strap. And then it's under the belly. And again, this adjustable rigging is on this side too. So what I did on the other side, I do on this side. This, if you lift this up, it will slide maybe like that, but you want to keep it the same. So I keep it all the way to the front. And this one's going to be kind of a tough one. Let me do it through here. So you will, so you can either use your, spoke to cinch, or you can do a knot. This is kind of weird not having the horse here. So you'll go through again. This, okay. And now I'm through all the way. So now you can either use your spoke and put it through your hole like this, and then you can just hang your saddle up through your leather keeper, or you can tie your knot off where some people like to do, and you go through your hole and you come through sideways, and then you come through here and you pull it through, and then you have your knot to do it that way. So you can do it either way, but that's the gist of cinching or saddling. Okay, let's see. Come on. Okay, can you show us how to adjust a saddle on a horse, how to place, adjust the saddle on a horse, or how to place it on the horse? Okay, let's see. Oh, I gotta turn it around. Okay, sorry, get that turned around. As far as the placement on the horse goes, like I said, that's a little bit of a personal preference. I always try to ride my saddle behind the horse's shoulders. What I do when I'm saddling my horse is I put my hand over the top of the horse's shoulder, okay? Lay it on the horse's shoulder, and my concho on my saddle in the front should lay over the top of my thumb. So I can feel the back of that shoulder blade where that drops in. That's where my hand lays, and my concho should lay over my thumbs. So my fingers are out, but the conchos, that's my preference on how to saddle or where to position it. But like I said, people are different on what they want to do for that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It kicked me out of Dan Patch.
Oh. Let's see.
Renee, are you here for that? She's still in here.
Okay, I miss it.
Dylan, we will help you out. In the meantime, we will have or Amy or Renee, and then Sarah, you can keep going if you want.
Okay. So somebody had just asked, the last question I had was my location, and I'm a bit of TAC in Burndale, Minnesota. We do have the event center or the indoor arena that we have all the shows at that is connected to the store. I do have a very large selection of used saddles and new. I probably have a couple 300 saddles in stock. I know somebody had asked me if I can do like a little tour of my store, and right before we're done, I will do a tour. I'll show you some of the saddles we have in stock. Somebody said that this was a nice saddle, that they liked it, and I appreciate it. This is the Martin Stingray. Somebody was interested in that. But yeah, we have new and used. And then let's see, I had, where's your store? My store is in Burndale, Minnesota. So it's in north of St. Cloud or north of the Twin Cities, probably 2.5 hours. If anybody ever wants to come for a saddle fitting and they're not coming for a show or an event, you just call the store and I'd be happy to do a fitting. And I have a place where we can try a bunch of new or used saddles, whatever you want to do on different horses. And then you can try them in the arena. You can go out and ride to make sure they also fit you, not just the horse. So anybody that's interested in ever doing a saddle fitting can call me and I'd be happy to do that. Let's see. A couple more questions that came through here. Let's see, where's your story? I answered that. How do you know? Oh, what cinch for your horse?
Then you're not gonna get.
Okay, I'm gonna do this one first. Would you allow a 4-H club to come and do a tour of your facility? Absolutely. We would love to have you guys come and tour the facility. We could, show you around. You could even do a open riding day if that was something that, a club wanted to do and they just wanted to come and, bring a group of horses up for the day and they want to ride in the arena. You just got to call and kind of schedule it. We are starting to get into all of our spring months. And so we're going to start having a lot of shows on the weekend. So it'll be a little tougher to get a weekend date. But if there was like a weekday date or a day that we don't have anything going on, you are absolutely welcome to come up and tour the facility and or ride. Somebody asked me about cinch sizing. So that's a little bit tricky. It depends on the horse, but you want the cinch to be able to be even on both sides. And I like to have my cinch come up about probably, I would say about 5 or 6 inches from the skirt of the saddle. I don't know. Can you turn my phone down so bring it over here so I can see it? Okay.
I got some.
Okay, so this is about how the distance that I would like my cinch to be on this side, and then same with the distance on the other side. You would want it even. The most standard cinch for just a standard normal horse is a 30 and a 32. That's your most common cinch size. Your smaller horses obviously need 20. Some even go down into 26s, and your bigger horses that are maybe your pleasure horses that are real tall and they're a little bit longer. Some of those will go a 34 or 36 inch cinch as well.
They say not to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you already did that one. Do you want to do it? Okay, and then was there anybody else that had any questions on saddle? Anybody else have any questions on saddle fits? I know somebody had asked me if I would do a tour. Oh, do I charge for saddle fitting? I charge $50 for a saddle fitting, but if you buy a saddle, then I don't charge anything. If I'm just fitting some used saddles and you just come up and I just don't have anything that fits or that's not going to work, then I wouldn't charge you anything. You could just try if you want. But if you come up and we find some saddles that work and all I'm doing is just telling you like which brands and which saddles fit, but you're not really ready to buy anything, then I just charge $50. And if you come back later and buy one, or you buy one that day, then I do it for free. Did I have any other questions? Did anybody have any other questions on saddle fittings before I take you guys on a little store tour? They asked me to do that.
Really quick, for English saddles, how do you know what seat size you use? Because since they're measured from the nail head to the middle of the back, I think that would be different than a Western saddle. It is different. Most of your riders are going to ride in a very common English seat size saddle is a 16.5 and a 17 inch in English. That's very common. If you get down there into that 15 or 15.5, that's usually a pretty small youth size English saddle. So I know that they measure the seat sizes with the way that their legs hang when you're sitting in the saddle and like how much bend is in there. But I will be very, very honest with you. I have never rode English myself. And so I'm not super great with, like if you were to sit in it exactly on how to, with your legs and where it is at with your seat size, I would probably ask somebody in your club maybe that could tell you that. But I do know that they are different than the Western, and 16.5 and 17 inches probably my most common English saddle
for older youth or adults. And then your 15 and 15 and a halves are usually your smaller youth kids. Did anybody else have any questions for me? No? Okay. All right. We will do a super quick tour. No, I'll just turn it around. We were sitting right now in my storage room because I had customers going on.
I see somebody ask
You what?
There's somebody asked what. Sorry.
Question?
Somebody asked what kind of horse do you think for this saddle?
What kind of horse for what?
For a treeless saddle.
For a treeless saddle?
Yes.
Okay. Any horse can go with a treeless saddle. I wouldn't say that you're picking a certain, I don't think I would pick a certain, there's not a certain breed that would work for a treeless saddle. I mean, any horse can ride in one. They just come in different, gullet, you know, they come in wides or regulars, and you just would want to find one that fit that horse. I'd say like if you're going to ride an Arab or, you know, you have a little finer boned horse, you'd probably just want the regular treed saddle. And if you have more of a wide horse or mutton withered horse, then I would probably go with the wide. Was there anybody else that had any questions?
I don't see any anymore.
Can you see me now?
Good to
Can you see it?
We can see the shop, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to take you on a little bit of a quick little tour, and then when I get done with that, then I'll see if anybody else has any questions before we finish up. So this is the new part that we just added on. This is all of our bits, and there is a lot of them, as you can see. So this is some of the saddle selection in inventory that we have. This is all of my spurs, spur straps. All of your cinches are along this wall. I'll try to go kind of slow. And I'll try to go kind of here too from the front. So this gives you a little bit of saddles. And like I said, there's tons of new ones and tons of used ones. There's lots of different price ranges. Most of these saddles are up on my website. And so you guys can look at them if you're looking for different price point one or, you know, whatever. And if you have questions, find one you're interested in, you can call me or whatever, and I can help you with the, you know, maybe kind of how it fits and what kind of horses it fits. You'd still want to try it on your horse before purchasing, but I'd be able to kind of guide you. Somebody just asked where I live, and I'm in Burndale, Minnesota. So I am north of St. Cloud, about 90 miles. So this is, we're kind of getting in here into all of our leg gear. And there's a lot of leg gear through here, like walls and walls of leg gear. We have lots of different brands that we stock for that. We got ropes and somebody just asked if we remodeled. Yes, we added this whole new section on before during COVID, when we had to be closed for a little while, a year ago in March. So that's when we added this on. So thank you that you love that. I appreciate it. Hope you guys can come soon. And I'm just going to quickly, that's all our head stalls, stirrups, reins, breast collars. We've got tons of pads. And you guys were talking about pads, and there was some questions about that. To about that have the material in them that the bulletproof vests have in them for police officers. So those are really super cool. You know, they were asking about protecting the horse's back. This is a good one for that as well. And I was going to see if I quickly had a sway back pad too, being we were talking about some of those, if I can find one. Here's one that would probably be a good one to sort of show, give you kind of an idea. Here is one that has like all the buildup in the middle that I was talking about for the horses with the sway backs. And pads, I know a lot of people had questions about them. I would quickly show you a couple of the differences in those. Okay, now we will go into, so that's the tack in the saddle area. And now we'll quickly go into the other part where all of the boots and clothes are. And then we can finish with some questions. All right, so here is boots. So I can get over here because we have a lot of them on the wall. And we have boots in tons and tons and tons of different price points. So we have some that are less expensive, but we have a lot of wall of boots. And boots here, but this has all been also remodeled. I guess some of you, like, I know I've seen some chats and people have said they've been here before. This was like super high, full of grid panels, and we changed some stuff so that this is all clothing and boots now. This whole section that used to have everything in it for the ones that have been here. Here's some more boots. We have plenty to choose from. And then this is all of the clothes section. We have lots of different brands of clothing. We have Rock and Roll, we have Ariat, we have Cinch, we have Kynes, we have Cowgirl Tough. We've got about every brand you guys can think of. And we have men's, women's, and a lot of kids too. So I know like some people say kids' clothes are hard to find. Let's see. And then there is cowboy hats as well. Hey, there's a lot of those. This is kind of takes a little while to get through all of this. The store is over 10,000 square feet now, so it's a little bit bigger than it used to be. Having everything being double. All right, so I'm going to sneak back into my little sneaky storage room area because we have lots of customers that are all shopping, and then I can answer some more questions before, if anybody has any before we're done. I can look at those chats that had popped up that I wasn't able to look at. Here's our kid, some of our kid section, which is pretty cool. So, okay, so I'm going to sneak back in here. This is where we price all of our freight, and all our new freight comes in. Okay, let's see. Well, I got lots more chats things. Okay. What do you guys charge for open riding in the arena? It's $10 a horse, and you can ride from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. for $10 a horse. Do you have buy horses in the store? Yes, I do. Quite a few of those. What barrel reins and bits do you have for barrel racing? I have got a ton. I have leather, I've got nylon for reins. And as you guys saw when I walked past, hold on, I gotta switch this around. The bit wall was huge. So I carry lots and lots and lots of brands. What bits work for barrel racing? As far as bits for barrel racing, there's a ton. I'd say the most common one is probably your junior cow horse in different mouthpieces. Bits are a whole nother series of, that's probably a whole clinic in itself with bits. So we won't have time to get into all that. But junior cow horse in like your 3-piece with your dog bone or twisted wire is probably your most common. Let's see, I got a few more questions here to answer quick. Bits. Briar horses, open ride's head. Let's see both. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it that has came through for questions for me. How big is your arena? Is the arena indoor or outdoor? Okay, our arena is 150 by 200. It's an indoor. We also do have an outdoor arena. Does anybody want to see the arena quick before we go? Yeah? Okay. I will quick do I'll sneak out there and I'll show it to you guys really quick. All right, so we're heading out that way right now. I will tell you, I think there is a bunch of open riders in there right now, so there might be a lot of people, but we'll see. So this part here is the show office that you guys will register for shows if you ever come. 4-H boot camp is also here every year in June. That's a super cool event. If you guys have never tried it, it's super fun. And that's the kitchen area. Now I'll go into the arena. And there are a bunch of open riders. So this is the main arena. This is the big part. And then connected to it back just a little bit further is a warm-up arena that's attached to it, where before you run barrels or pleasure games or whatever you might be doing, you have a place to warm up. And then we have the bleachers. We also have 400 stalls that are all inside that are connected to the arena for people to stall their horses in if they come to ride or come for the shows or want to be here for the weekend or whatever. So, and then attached to one of the barns, and some of you have been here before and would have seen this, and some of you haven't been here since we added this on, but we also added another indoor arena that's attached to one of the stall barns that is just off to the main arena. So we actually have two indoor warm-up arenas, the main big arena, and then we have the big outdoor arena along with the stalls. We also have wash racks for the horses and showers and bathrooms for the contestants. Any other questions that anybody has?
I went to boot camp 2019. Are they gonna have it this year?
Yes, it does sound like they're gonna have it, and it'll be the same time in June. I know that they were talking about, I don't remember if in 2000, there's a horse down there that's just bucking like crazy. It's feeling really good. I don't know if you guys can see it, but somebody could get bucked up. So anyway, it's that same weekend in June. And I know they were talking about the game clinicianer was going to maybe be different than the one that they've used because they kind of had used the same one quite a few years in the past. And I think they were looking at doing a different one just for some different information. So I don't know who the clinicianers are going to be for sure this year. We don't provide any of them. MQHA hires all of the clinicians and puts that on. Was there any other questions?
Do you guys take saddle trade-ins?
Yep, I take in saddles on trade. I take just about anything, as long as the trees are solid. I guess that nothing's broke, but yes, I do take trades.
Okay.
And yes, boot camp is still being planned. Somebody just commented on that. So, but the date has been set in our calendars, but as far as who the clinicianers and all the information and all the details on it, I think they are still working on. Was there any other questions? Do I know the dates? Yeah, let me just go look here for a second. I gotta look it up. If anybody is ever looking for what events are coming or when they are, or any of the show bills for any of the shows that we have, I know we have a WSCA show coming up here, a series in March, and there's boot camp and stuff. You definitely can look on our website, and we do try to post all of the upcoming events and stuff like that on our website. Some of them don't have full flyers yet, but they at least give you a date. Okay, boot camp is June 15th through the 17th. And if for those of you that have not been here for that, it is absolutely amazing. The kids learn so much, and all the clinicianers and stuff like that are super amazing to listen to and work with, and they do a great job with the kids.
I have another question. Is the arena do you have different sites for the store and the arena?
Do I have different what?
Like
sites?
Yeah.
Websites. So you can you can go to the Sunby Enterprise website, which is our main website, and you'll see the 4 logos. So you'll see Sunby Trailer Sales, A Bit of Tack, the arena, and the events. And you can click on any one of those and it'll bring you to our website. But A Bit of Tack has their own website with I shouldn't say all my products. We're working on it, but it has a lot of my product and my saddles and stuff on it. But you can get to the same one from the Sunby Enterprise page, but they're all their own websites.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is the arena open every day or is it only certain?
So the arena part for open riding is only certain dates. So you'll want to watch, you can like our Facebook page, the Sunbeam Enterprise Facebook page, and we post on there when open riding is. Usually it's 2 or 3 days a week is what we had done for the winter time. And then like this weekend, we don't have an event. So he did open riding Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But after next weekend, we have an event just about every weekend. From like March 13th all the way through almost to July, I think there's an event. So there probably won't be much for open riding on the weekends after this weekend, just because of that. But you can see our schedule on our website or on our Facebook page when we're going to have it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Is there any other questions?
Do you go down to the Minnesota like state 4-H tack swap or whatever?
I do 4-H. I do the Horse Expo. We always have a big booth down there for that. Usually in the past, our tent or our booth was in the Sunbeam Trailer Sales booth, which is in that big parking lot right before you go to the 4-H tack swap, before the hill. But now this year with Expo, it sounds like they've moved everything around because there's a bunch of construction down there. So my booth will be in the cattle barn this time for Expo, and the trailers will all be, everybody's trailer booths are in a different parking lot and they're all together. So it'll be a little bit different, but yes, I go for that. And I'm also down there with a booth at the 4-H State Horse Show and the WSCH Hamp Show. Do I have Circle Y sales? I have a few Circle Y used, but I don't have any Circle Ys new. Is there any other questions?
I have a question, but it's like more on like what you prefer.
Okay.
When you ride, do you like use spurs with your horses, or do you just choose not to?
It kind of depends on which horse I'm riding. I have some push style horses that I do use them on. I don't use real heavy shanks, and I don't use real like hard spurs, mostly just a bumper or like a sidewinder. For my push style horses that I have to push into the barrels, my free running horses, depending on the horse, some yes and some no.
Okay.
But when I'm just riding in general, if I have a horse that's maybe not responding like I want them to or whatever, then maybe I'll put on a pair of spurs just to get them working, but I don't use them on an everyday basis with all the horses. Do I have any Billy Cook sales? Yes, I carry Billy Cook new. I know there's a few new ones in there. I don't know if I have any used ones right now. I really appreciate everybody listening in on the saddle fitting and the store and everything. And I hope everybody enjoyed it and got some information from it. And please give us a call or let me know after this thing is over if you guys have any other questions or want to talk about any saddle fitting stuff or questions on the store. Just let us know. I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much for this was amazing.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.